Cipher was not made for Fei Zhao. And I'm going to tell you why. In this video, we're going to cover Cipher's first impressions and initial theory crafting, as well as her intended playstyle and what I believe to be her role in the HSR roster. So if you just up a content, let me know by liking the video, leaving a comment section below, and consider subscribing to the channel. I'm also going to be live for 24 hours for the HSR anniversary. So please join me at twitch.tv/iSUMMON I have a whole day, literally a whole day of content for you guys to consume over there on Twitch. So please join us over there. Hope to see you there. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. All right, so we are back in our make-believe Photoshop HSR battlefield. And I'm going to explain more or less how Cipher's kit works. So her whole gimmick, her whole shtick, her whole thing is that she's going to record all the damage dealt to enemies and then deal it back as true damage whenever she unleashes her ultimate. And it all revolves around this debuff or this state called the regular customer, and I'm going to denote regular customer by this white square. So when an enemy has this white square, whatever damage dealt to that enemy, Cipher is going to record 20% of it. So let's say, for example, you hit the main bug or you hit the swarm for 100k. Well, Cipher is going to end up recording 20,000 of that 100,000. So let me just color this a different color so that way we can see it a little better. She is going to record 20k of that damage. This only applies to the main target. To the adjacent targets, so let's say you hit the main target for 100k and then the adjacent targets for 50k each. For the enemies that don't have the white square debuff, it's only going to record 5%. So if you hit the main enemy for 100k, adjacent enemies both for 50k, you're going to record 2.5k of each. So she is going to record a total of 20k from the main enemy, and from the adjacent enemy, she's going to record 5k. So in total, obviously, this is going to equal 25k in total. And this number is going to continue increasing, depending on how much damage you are dealing to the enemies, specifically, or especially, I should say, to the white square enemy. So let's say you amass a total of 1 million damage, right? You have 1 million damage just stored up there because in theory, you have done, I don't know, 5 million total damage to the enemy. So that 20% of that would be 1 million. And then you have 1 million in the chamber here. When you release your ultimate, what's going to happen is she's going to do one instance of attack. And that instance of attack is going to deal 25% of this million damage as true damage. So it's not affected by defense, not affected by resistance. It's just straight damage. So you deal 25% of this. So that would be 250,000 up front first. And then the remainder of the 750,000 damage that you have left over is going to be distributed among the main target and then 2 blast enemies. And on top of that, she's going to deal 160 damage scaling off her own attack on top of this. So she's going to essentially be dealing the million damage distributed across 3 enemies, her own ultimate damage, which is about 160 multiplier to the main target. And this is where her big numbers are going to come from. So essentially, Cipher is some backup damage whenever you need it. She's going to sit back, record all the damage being dealt to enemies, and then when you want to cash in on that ultimate, you can cash in. You can kind of, you can pretty much see how much damage you're going to do because you're going to have 1 million next to her little picture on the bottom. You're going to have like 1 million, or I don't know how they display it, but you're going to have like a number designating, hey, this is going to be 1 million damage at least, because you still have her own multipliers to add into that. Now, that is not the totality of her kit, right? Her being an agility character, she is going to be one of the better debuffers that we have in the game, in direct competition with Zhao Shou. Not for specifically Acheron teams, because for Acheron teams, Zhao Shou is going to end up being better anyway, but she is a direct upgrade to any team that has Pella on it already and then may have had Silverwolf on it already. On her base kit, just by her existing on the field, enemies are going to get their defense decreased by 30%. And that is pretty significant considering she is an agility character and we have access to Resolution Shines as Pulse of Sweat, which means that just by her existing or just by her doing an attack, enemies are going to have their defense decreased by at a minimum 46%. At the same time, her skill is a blast damaging skill that inflicts a debuff called weaken, and what essentially means that the enemies will do less damage if they are weakened. So she's protecting your team in a way, being a little bit of help to your sustains by making your enemies deal a lot less damage via her weaken debuff. Now she's an attack scaling DPS, who also benefits from crit, and one of her traces actually give her at least 50% crit rate if you have her at 170 speed or more. So this is a character that's going to be ultra fast, and her having a low energy ultimate opens up a lot of doors for her builds because it makes her very versatile. You can run her on wind set since she's already want to be fast. You can run her on the quantum set because she already decreases defense. You can also run her on the pioneer set because she has a lot of debuffs. She's actually one of the better, if not the best debuffer for teams like Dr. Ratio, for example. You can also run her on the pioneer set. So she is a good damage dealer, a good backup DPS, and then also a fantastic debuffer. And then her light cone also gives an extra 30% defense down. So just by having her and her light cone, you get 60% defense reduction on the enemies just by her doing one attack. So incredibly good as a debuffer. Now going back to the regular customer, or going back to the white square debuff, this essentially works exactly the same way as Topaz's debuff works, that if there's nobody on the field with it, she's going to give it to somebody, prioritizing the one with the highest max HP. Now, the way this differentiates from Topaz's is that you cannot pick the target. It'll automatically pick the target depending on who has the higher max HP, and she will always attack the one that has the highest max HP. So in a sense, she is kind of like Mighty in the sense that you really can't control who to aim for, because with her debuff, she kind of always wants to attack the one with the debuff. If you were to read her kit, it seems a bit convoluted, but essentially what she does, she's going to record damage dealt to those enemies and the rest of the cast, and then this number that she has on the bottom is going to continue increasing, and then you can use your ultimate to unleash this amount of damage onto the main target and the adjacent targets. If it's only one target available, it's going to do all of the damage to the one target. So this is a very good ability, or a very good ultimate to deal with characters like Hule that have, or the Swarm, that you can kill the ads on the side and then leave it for its, like, save his ultimate when the bug is by itself, and you're going to deal a good chunk of damage depending on the damage you have already done. Now you probably have noticed that I have not mentioned her follow-up right now, and even though her follow-up is her highest multiplier ability, it does have a 400% multiplier on her follow-up attack. It is something that only happens once every time she ults. So once per ult, she's going to launch a follow-up attack when any enemy hits the white square debuffed enemy. So in a sense, you unleash this 1 million damage, boom, you did the ultimate, you did 1 million damage to the bug. Now, you know, the bug is still alive. It still has the white buff, or let's call it the white buff. It has the white buff, and then let's say, for example, you have Fei Zhao with her follow-up. Her follow-up is going to hit the bug, and then obviously you're going to get more recorded damage down in the bottom. Let's say you're going to record 5k here, right? You record 5k from the follow-up, and then from there, Cipher's going to launch her follow-up, which is a single target hit, launches her follow-up and records even more damage. Her follow-up has 400% multiplier, which is very close to what a Sela ultimate is going to be. So she does deal quite a chunk of damage with her follow-up, but it's something that she can only do once per ultimate. The good thing is that her ultimate is very low energy. I think it has about 100, so you can pretty much spam it with a energy regen rope. You can pretty much spam her ultimate every turn or every other turn essentially, and she also goes really fast, so she's not gonna have a problem firing off her ultimate. Now, I don't know if the correct playstyle is to just launch your ultimate anytime you have it, or just to save the ultimate for a big nuke on the end. I guess we are gonna have to wait and see what her ultimate or preferred playstyle is going to end up being. Now, would I say that she is a character made for Fei Zhao? Absolutely not. I already said that at the beginning of the video. I don't think her attack frequency and her follow-ups are enough to cover for somebody like Moza, March 7th, or Topaz. I think those are more appropriate characters to run alongside Fei Zhao. However, I think she is a very good character to have alongside Zhao Shou for your E1 and below Acherons. So for the Acheron team, before E2, Cipher is going to be a very good option. She's going to replace Pella in every single one of them. For Dr. Ratio, for those of you who are still Dr. Ratio fans, Cipher does an incredible amount of debuff. She has the weaken, she has the black or the white debuff, she has the both defense down if you have her ultimate, or resolution chance both sweat. She has 4 debuffs just on her own, so she's almost enough to just cover Dr. Ratio's needs. So she's a really good debuffer. I don't necessarily think she is the go-to for Fei Zhao as of this moment. I don't know, they may end up changing. Remember guys, this is just the first iteration of Cipher. These things tend to change by the time she releases, so let's keep all of this with a grain of salt. Aside from that, her animations are nothing crazy. They look pretty nice, but they're nothing insane. But overall, I think she's going to be a decent character to have. Like I said, among the better debuffers that we have in the game, certainly better than Silverwolf. I think she's going to end up being the second best debuffer that we have in the game. So it's kind of like a small recap. She enters battle, she gives the enemies the white debuff, and that essentially allows her to record 20% of the damage dealt to this enemy, and then 5% of the damage dealt to all the other enemies that are on the field. And then you can stack this up to your heart's content. She has a very low energy ultimate, so you can either fire off the ultimate when you have it, or just save it to get a big nuke damage. But remember, this number right here will reset every time you do your ultimate. And also, her follow-ups can only be done once per time that she does her ultimate. So if you do the follow-up, you're going to have to wait until you have your ultimate again to launch a second follow-up, which is her highest multiplier hitting ability. Depending on her light cone, she has a lot of debuffs. She has the weaken debuff that she has on her skill, which allows enemies to deal less damage to you or your party. She also has one form of defense down already just by existing. And then depending on the light cone you choose, she may or may not have another defense down on top of that. She's going to be one of the better defense shredders or defense reducers that we have in the game, dethroning Pella from pretty much every team that she is in right now. All right, guys, I hope I helped you understand Cipher's kit a little bit better. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you excited to pull for a character like this? Is it the character that you were expecting her to be? Put it on the comments. Until next time, guys. See ya.